Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow us on all socials.
How are we all doing, guys? This is a massive game. Big derby. Maybe to Leicester fans, I don't know about Forest fans. Forest fans normally say that we aren't a big derby, but it is a big game for both teams. Could mean we go ninth. It could mean that Forest could have an even better record. Only one loss at the moment, but we'll get straight into it. We'll bring in Simon, one of my fellow colleagues or past colleagues. Simon, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, Jamie. Thanks. How are you?
Yes, I am good, thank you. And I'll bring in Jonno, another Leicester fan. Jonno, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad. I'm good.
So we'll get straight into it. Simon, big game tomorrow. Are you going firstly, or?
No, I'm not actually. So I'm hosting in a local pub near the City Ground called the William Gunn. We've got an ex-player with us, Julian Bennett, who I don't know whether Leicester fans will know Julian Bennett, but he played for us a few years ago. So I'm hosting in a pub just a couple of 100 meters from the main entrance to the City Ground with Jules tomorrow night.
Yeah. Good to hear. Go on then, Simon, straight into it. What's your kind of thoughts been over this season so far for Forest? Because again, compared to us, obviously now we have got your ex-manager in Cooper. What's your kind of take on your start to the season, and what's your kind of thoughts on Steve Cooper anyway?
Well, I think the start we've made is a good one. I think it's probably taken a few people by surprise. I think it's taken a lot of Forest fans by surprise, to be honest. I think up until the point at Chelsea and then the win against Crystal Palace, I think a lot of fans were thinking that the win at Liverpool was maybe masking, making the start look a bit better than it actually was. But then to go down to 10 men at Chelsea and hold on and maybe even have a chance of winning it at the end showed how far we've come, certainly away from home. Home form's been a bit ropey. They had a couple of chances. We had a couple of chances. It was a reasonable game, but I think on the whole, probably 5 or 6 points better off than I thought we'd be. Certainly.
Yeah, and then what's your thoughts on Steve Cooper before I go to Jonno?
I used to work at Forest. I don't know how much your fans know about my background, but I used to work with you, Jamie, at Forest, obviously, and I worked with Steve Cooper for his whole time at Forest, and I love him, and I don't know whether that is. I don't know what you Leicester fans think of him. To be honest, I'm guessing that he's not won you over just yet. But what he did at Forest will go down in Forest's history, getting us back into the Premier League after 23 years. I won't hear a bad word about him, to be honest. I think he's a wonderful man. You're very lucky to have him. And I genuinely hope that it works out for him at Leicester. I hope you stay up, which is probably unusual for Forest fans to say. And finish, but obviously finish below us. That's the ultimate, I suppose.
Yeah, go on, Jonno. Simon was just alluding to there about what your thoughts are on Steve Cooper. I think over the start of the season, we've kind of given our views on what we thought of Steve Cooper's football and how he's done for us so far. What was your kind of quick look at Steve Cooper's start to the season? Because we know obviously a lot of fans aren't too convinced with how his style of football is at the moment.
I think it's definitely a mixed bag. There are some fans that already are get rid of him. He's not suited. I'm not Steve Cooper, no way. But it's kind of like, it's a bit frustrating because sometimes we play really good football. Like we sometimes play attacking, it's fluid, and it's really good. We pressure teams really well. But then we sometimes on the back foot for a lot of the game and it's sloppy. I just want to see a bit more consistency. I think like the season so far has been better than I expected. You know, we've got points against Spurs. We did well against, even though we lost, we did well against Arsenal. Beating Bournemouth and Southampton in a row has been a big lift, I think, for the clubs. I think it's been good, but there are still question marks. So can he maintain a good performance across the full 90 minutes?
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know how much you've seen of us, Simon, but there's a lot of fans that have kind of not been convinced over his style of play. Obviously, he did do so well to bring you up from quite low down in the Championship to get you back promoted into the Premier League, which we all kind of saw was a brilliant side of it. But then the season after, his main job was to keep you up, and very, very fortunately, you did stay up. And obviously, we're the ones that did go down from them. And a lot of fans at the moment, it might be because of the Forest link, I'm not too sure, but there was a lot of fans that really weren't convinced about can he do the job in keeping us up this season. Do you think that he is probably the man to do that, or do you think it was the right choice at the time for Leicester to go for someone like him?
I think he'll keep you up. I think so long as you stick with him and back him, then I have no doubt that he'll keep you up. I tell you what, mate, if he could keep Forest up after 30 signings in that first season, I mean everybody was taking the piss out of us with 30 signings, and to keep us in the hardest league in the world was incredible. And I personally think that he deserved. Probably it's a weird one, but he probably deserved to take us back down because of what he did, which is obviously not what anybody wants. But I don't think he would have done that either. But what the Forest ownership wanted was for us to push on to that next level, and I'm not 100% sure that Steve was the right man to be able to do that. That said, I think he will keep you up this year, providing you stick with him. I think you're starting to see a couple of results now. Okay, Southampton are not very good. Bournemouth held us to a point and probably should have won at the City Ground. So I just stick with him. Just try and forget what he did at Forest and stick with him, and you'll be absolutely fine.
Perfect. We'll move into the game now, Jonno. Obviously tomorrow is going to be a big game for both teams. Probably more so Leicester, because we need the points probably more than Forest right now. What do you think is going to be the big point in either us winning the game or losing the game? Because we have many players who we're asking Cooper where is Fatawu, where is the likes of other players that just can't seem to get gains at the moment, like Ricardo. Do you see any of these players coming in to try and win this game? Because we've seen Cooper's kind of not stubbornness, but we've seen a team that is now getting consistently in the team. Do you see any other teams coming in? Any other players coming in? Sorry.
Fatawu must start. You know, like Cooper's very hinting towards, you know, he wasn't starting in previous games because he didn't want to throw him into the deep end and him not do well and then that's it. He built him up slowly to start coming to games and make an impact, which he did. You know, he said he proved himself against Southampton that he can perform to his levels in the Premier League, which he did. For us to do well, we can't sit back. We've got to attack Forest from the first whistle, because if we sit back, Forest will punish us. Chris Wood he's in great form. He's one of the top scorers in the season this year so far. He's scoring every other game, so we can't sit back and let Forest just come in. We've got to attack them. Fataru's got, Fataru brings that energy, the buzz. He'll get the crowd going. So if we get the crowd on our side, we're at home, use them. If we get the crowd on our side, we can attack them. But if we sit back and like we did against Southampton, where we just suffered, the first half was atrocious. If we did it against Forest, we're going to get stuffed. So just start strong.
Yeah, Simon. Obviously, what Jonno was alluding to there about we need to start on the front foot. We need to get at you. Is that something that might give us a chance, or do you think that it might put us on the back foot as well? Because with how your style of football is, and certain players like Jonno again said, Chris Wood there, who has been on the score sheet, who has scored 5 goals already in this season. Do you think that would give us better chance, or do you think that a certain way for you to play will give you a chance to beat us?
No, I think you've got to start on the front foot. You know, and this has been our problem at home this season, where we maybe haven't started with the tempo that you need to. And like you've just said there, you need to get the fans behind you. You know, if you can start strongly, and maybe get an early goal and get the fans behind you, then that's obviously going to make a difference. The difference for us this year is that we've got pace. And I think it's the one thing that we've probably struggled with, certainly struggled with when Steve was our manager, is that we didn't have the pace, or we didn't use the pace like we maybe should. And I think Callum Hudson-Odoi is probably the biggest threat if Gibbs White's not playing. And Chris Wood has just been phenomenal. He just keeps scoring. So yeah, you've somehow got stop us getting in behind you, but you've got to go for it. You're at home, you know. There's no point sitting back, not starting with the right tempo, and then finding yourselves 1-0 down and then having to start playing. You've got to go for it. You're at home.
Yeah. I looked at some stats today, and I saw that I think a few games ago. Obviously, we've not played you many times in the last 10 years, but I think it was in 2013 we had Chris Wood, but on the other side, because had Chris Wood 11 years ago, and we did beat you 3-2 at your ground. I don't know if you were there or remember it, but that's, for me, quite incredible to see that Chris Wood is still playing, and now he is playing for you, and he is still scoring goals 11 years later. Do you think he is your main man at the moment, or do you see any other players in your team who are really in form at the moment? People have mentioned someone like Gibbs White, who apparently is in crazy form the last couple of seasons, or even just this season so far. Or is someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi, who obviously came from Chelsea, who seems to be doing quite well as well. Is there any players in your team that you think are star players to watch?
Sorry, mate, you froze then. But providing Gibbs White's the best player we've got at end of. That's why he's just been picked for England. He fully deserves to be picked for England. He fully deserves to be in and around that squad. I don't know whether he's fit or not. I've not seen. He was on crutches last weekend, but I don't think it's anything too serious. Difference when he's on. Chris Wood. I was working at Forest in 2013. I don't remember him scoring for you guys against us. But what a record! You know, he's phenomenal. He just keeps scoring. He puts himself in those positions. He could have had a hat-trick on Monday night. He missed a header, and you look at it, and it's like, how has he missed that? He missed a chance right at the end of the first half, and then scored probably the hardest of the 3 chances, which was really a Dean Henderson mistake in the Palace goal. But for me, Gibbs White is the danger. Callum Hudson-Odoi is a danger. Anthony Elanga, not so much. Another one to watch out for you guys tomorrow night is Elliot Anderson, who we signed from Newcastle in the summer. He's started 7 of our 8 games so far, and he looks a real talent, only a youngster. And we've got a guy, a bit of a secret weapon, really, called Jota Silva, who's been coming off the bench, Portuguese. He looks a little bit like Jack Grealish in that he wears his socks down and he's got Jack Grealish's weird haircut. But he may get a start tomorrow, or he may come on. And then, of course, we've got James Ward-Prowse back from suspension tomorrow as well. So our set-piece delivery, I don't need to tell you this if you've been watching the Premier League for the last 10 years, but our set-piece delivery has gone up by 100% since he came into the side. So there's a lot. But the other thing as well that you'll find tough tomorrow night is, and I hope I'm not speaking too soon, but our back four is pretty. We're looking like the real deal finally after probably 2 years at playing at it in the Premier League, I think.
Yeah, Jono, we have been hearing about Forest's back line being quite solid and not only conceding, I think, 7 or 8 goals this season. The one positive note that we've got on our side is the fact that we've scored in every single game this season, and I think the only other team in the Premier League at the moment that has done that as well is Man City, which again is an obvious kind of inevitable in a way. But do you see us scoring a goal or even more, Jono, in this game? Because again, we have got our threats to self. We have got Fatu, hopefully, if he does start. We have got Mavididi on the other side. And again, we have got Jamie Vardy up front, even at 38 or wherever his age is now. He's still a threat. And like I said, Wood 11 years ago was playing. He's still playing and scoring goals. Jamie Vardy can just do just as that as well. So, do you think, can you see us scoring goals, Jono?
Yeah, I mean, if we have Fatah on the pitch, yeah, we'll score. Like if someone against Southampton, he's stood outside the box with the ball, jockeying the defenders, and all of a sudden he just bursts of pace down the wing, bang, cross in the goal. We've got pace. I'm scared of Ward-Prowse, obviously, but again, as a Man City, only teams to have scored in every single game this season. So yeah, we think we'll both score. We've just got to make sure we just again don't sit back. If we, Mavididi is also dangerous. Budinete is scoring for fun. He's having a really good time at the moment. So I think there'll be goals on both sides. And yeah, you mentioned Forest have a really good defense, but let's not forget we are very hard to beat. It took Arsenal to 94th minute to score they scored 2 goals in stoppage time, but it took them to that far to beat us. Spurs couldn't beat us, so Bournemouth couldn't score against us. We came back against Southampton, so it's not like we concede and capitulate. If Forest score, I'm not going to think, oh my God, that's it. I think we could come back and give them a good game. So I think both teams could score goals quite easily. It's a derby. It's going to be heated. Who's going to be more composed at the back? Because Okoli's been phenomenal this season for us. I think he's been great. So it just depends on, in the heat at the moment, who's going to, flutter first. It will be Leicester or Forest. I think if one team starts scoring, it's going to be a bedlam of goals.
Yeah, Simon, before we let you go, first of all, I'm going to ask you, have you seen any of our players this season? Seen is anyone you think is a danger? Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Fatu. Have you seen much of him? And obviously, I'm going to have to mention Jamie Vardy. What are your thoughts on him? And then a score prediction, please.
I don't know Fatu. I do apologise. I must confess I haven't seen much of your games other than on Match of the Day. So the highlights on Match of the Day. I do feel that watching your highlights and listening to people talking about you, that you're better than your original position up until the last couple of games. So I wasn't surprised that you beat Bournemouth, and I wasn't surprised that you beat Southampton. And I think you'll be absolutely fine this season. I don't think there's any fear of going. I think Ipswich and Southampton will go down, and then I think it's one from maybe 10 others, and I think we're one of those 10, and I think you're one of those 10. But I do think you'll be absolutely fine, and I think we will too. Jamie Vardy is one of those, isn't he? Where when he plays for you, you love him, and when you support a team that are 15 miles down the road, you don't. I find it hard to find anything other than admiration for him, because he keeps scoring goals, and it's the hardest game. It's the hardest thing to do in football, isn't it? I mean, that's why strikers go for the prices that they go for, because they're doing the hardest thing in football, and that's why. For me, we were desperate for a striker in the summer. We've got Taiwo Awoniyi and we've got Chris Wood. I think if you ask any Forest fan over the summer, we were desperate to sign a striker. We nearly signed Nketiah. That didn't come off. And I think we're having to rely on Chris Wood. And at the moment, he's doing it. But how long will that last for? I don't know. Whereas with Jamie Vardy, he scores, doesn't he? He scores all the time. You don't feel like there's ever going to be a dry patch where he doesn't get a goal. So yeah. don't like him because he plays for Leicester, but absolutely admire him for his career. Probably should have played for England more than he did. So yeah. Score prediction. I'd be lying if I told you that I wouldn't take a point if you offered it me now. I think given what you've just said about you guys scoring in every game, I'm going to give you 1. And I think we'll score 1. So I'm on Fox's Focus podcast, Leicester City Fan TV. I better go 1-1, hadn't I?
You can be as honest as you want.
As you want.
Yeah, if you want to go for a 4-0, you can do, mate. It's all depending on
No,
what you say.
No,
we want a Forest fan's point of view on what this is. So
I don't think it will be. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. I think it could well be a 1-1 or a 2-2. I'd take a point right now, but I do think it's a pretty open game. I think when having worked with Steve Cooper and knowing how important tomorrow night is to him, I think every single one of your players will know how important that game is tomorrow night, because the one thing he was good at when he was with us was making players aware who they played for and what it meant to the supporters as well. And I think you might surprise a few people tomorrow night, but don't underestimate Forest this season as well. We're a good side, like I say, solid at the back, pace up front, good midfield. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Simon, for coming on. I appreciate your views, and hopefully I'll speak to you later in the year at some point as well. Cheers for coming on, mate.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Pleasure, mate. See you soon. Cheers.
So, Jonno, before we do finish, we'll get a few comments in. Dean does say here, can I ask Forrest from where Gibbs White is fit tomorrow? From what I've seen, he isn't fit. He has got an ankle injury, which is good news for us. And where did he get the Croatian centre-back from? I think it was from Fiorentina. I think I've seen him before. For many times, he has done quite well for Forest, and it's gonna be a hard match, Jonno, tomorrow, isn't it? Because again, like just Simon said, there's many players in that team that I wouldn't say is not Premier League level. Again, you've got James Ward-Prowse, you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi, you have got Chris Wood again. 11 years ago was playing for us, which is mental. And again, there's so many players in that team that can harm us, but hopefully we've got the team to combat that.
Well, I mean, if he was still here, I would say that Forest are the firm favourites for this. You know, if you ask all the bookies and all the pundits, they'll say Forest are the firm favourites. You know, when we got relegated, we start from fresh. Forest are 2-3 years into their Premier League rebuild. We're just started. You know, we had to rebuild. We had a team with Maddison, Tielemans, and all those sort of massive players. We don't have them anymore. We've got to start from ground zero. So they've got a lot more experienced Premier League players like Gibbs White, Ward-Prowse, who are Chris Wood, who are veterans in the Premier League, and they're going to be very hard to beat. If you said take a draw, I'll bite your hand off. 1,000,000% take a draw. But I hope it's a tight game. I hope it's a end-to-end game. I don't want it to be a boring, cagey match. I want it to be an absolute end-to-end game. But I think I'll take a draw. My heart says we'll win 2-1, but my head says draw or lose because they're in such good form and Chris Wood's in unbelievable scoring form. So I'll take a draw, but I'm not surprised if we do lose.
It's a hard thing to say about. Again, I'd take the draw because of the form they're in, but I'd only take the draw if we could guarantee we'll get 3 points versus Ipswich, because people have been saying on the show we did earlier in the Tactics Talk show about the games we've got after these next 2 games in the Forest and the Ipswich. They're going to be tough. We've got out the next 10 games, we've got 7 or 8 hard games. So it's not going to be easy. And again, we need to get as many points as we can.
Every game's hard. Every game's hard.
Every game is hard, yes.
Look at Wolves. They made Man City beat them in the last minutes of the game. You know what I mean? Everyone expected when Man City just scored 10 past Wolves without a problem. They took them to the death. So no game's easy. On our day, as we proved against Spurs, if we play our best, we can give any team a game. But that method of football is so rare at the moment for us that's the form we need to find. It's hard to find that at the moment.
It is, yeah. John Glover here says Vardy is going to have a party. We do hope so. We do hope so. Scott Blankley here says need a JJ Rocket or bend it like Fatou special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. Again, he probably deserves to score that goal against Southampton on the weekend. Unfortunately, it's in the bar. Terence here says a game to bring Ricardo back. See, it is one, Jono. There's a lot of talk about does Ricardo come back in? We saw a lot of stuff around the Cooper conference after the game against Southampton saying about people. He has heard about all this rumours and questions around why isn't a player like Ricardo playing? And he did say he'll be getting game time sooner or later. Do you see him coming in tomorrow night? Again, for me, who drops out? Because I don't think Christensen deserves to be dropped. And because of the style we play, I can't see JJ being dropped. So I just don't know where he's going to fit in.
The only position I can see him is maybe going in a drop in the midfield.
Maybe.
But a game against Forest, I wouldn't risk changing the back four in this game because this game could take us to mid-table and have a good cushion in the hard run we've got coming up towards Christmas. But again, he deserves game time. You know, he was it was a fantastic wing back seasons ago, and he was brilliant. So I want to see him back, but yeah, I don't know where he'll fit in.
No, I agree. Any more comments before we do slowly finish the show? Dave here earlier says we do need to win tomorrow. It is right. Again, would you say it's a bigger game for us, Jono? Because again, as much as they're in good form, we do need the points. And like I said, we have got quite a few harder than normal games, I'd say. Like I said, we have got Chelsea and Man United after the Ipswich game, so we need to grab as many points as we can before we do start going into the harder fixtures of the season. Do you think this is it's not? Do you think it's a must win? I'll say. Do you think this is a must win?
If you said if this is a must win to keep us up in the league, no. If we do win this, it's not saying right we're relegated. Is it a win? Is it a game where we need to stabilize us in tactic wise? Can we go a full game and perform well? Is it a game where let's prove a point we're not a team that gets lucky and wins games? Is it a game to prove that we can compete? Yes, absolutely. I think to put our foot down and show we're competitive, we need to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. Bubba here says it's Friday night at home, local derby. If this isn't the time to attack from the off, when will it be? Again, I was saying that against Southampton. As much as it wasn't at home, they are the bottom team in the league. They haven't scored many goals in this season. We just didn't turn up in the first half. What game will we decide to turn up? Not from the full 9. Not maybe from the full 90, but again, I don't think you can ever be a full 90 game every single game of the season because it's just going to wear you out. But
can we just start good though? Can we just start well?
I think the only game this season. I think the only game this season we've started well for me has been Palace when we went 2-0 up. And again, it wasn't the best results in the end, but I just think we do need to start from the start. And I think if there's any game to do it, it's against a local rival, which again you want to get that under your belt and say we've beaten Forest instead of them saying we've beaten you. So it's a good one to win, hopefully. Scott does say here Forest fans are too cocky on their channel. Can't blame them for them. To be fair, makes for a great game. Hopefully, mate. Hopefully. Go on then, Jono. Before we do finish, score prediction. Friday night under the lights. First one of the season that's been midweek, I think, in the Premier League. Big game on TV. What are you saying?
Big game. As I said, this game I think kind of form can be put aside a little bit. It's a derby. These sort of games, it's all guns blazing. The fans have got to contribute. We can't just sit back and watch. We've got to be really behind the team. If the crowd's going, if we're chanting, if the team's pressing, I can see us winning 2-1. But if we don't start on the front foot, we'll lose. That's all I'm going to say.
Let's hope so. Let's hope not. Anyway, let's hope not the second part. Hopefully the first part. We'll get a few scorelines in then. Terence does say 2-0. Keep the faith. Bubba here says 3-1 Leicester. I have a feeling. Hopefully, mate. Hopefully, every feeling that there's a win is a win. Callum Barnes says 2-2. 2-2. So draw. And again, Scott Bankley says 1-0. Bubba says it's a Cooper derby and he'll be happy hour here in Eastern USA. Go on, mate. You have a few drinks and hopefully you're supporting Leicester on the way. And then it's my prediction. I said my prediction earlier. I think I remember saying 3-0 to Leicester, but that's
not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
But I was saying that by my heart, by my head, I did say a 1-1 draw. I'd take a draw if it meant we did beat
I'll take
Ipswich.
a draw all day.
If it meant we beat Ipswich, then yes, fair enough. But the best thing ever would be to get 6 points in the next 2 games, beat Forest, have the momentum to go and beat Ipswich, and then we'll be on a form of 4 in a row. And you never know. We've got Man United after that in the cup. In the
that's
league.
when it will go downhill.
You never know. They're in absolutely hot form, and we might even be above them.
They're winning at the moment. They're winning in the Europa League.
It's the Europa League, mate. It's the
Europa League. We're not even in any Europe, so you can't talk either.
It's fine. Right, John, I appreciate you coming on, mate. We'll see you next week again, same an hour before this time, at 7:30 for you and Simon to talk about hopefully a win in the Carabao Cup, because it'll be the Man U game on the Wednesday.
Yes, we'll be hosting the show next Thursday. It's 7:30, a bit later today, but for the Man U game twice in a row, which is fun.
Hopefully. And then obviously, like you say, we've got Jamie's show on Sunday to review the Forest game again.
There might be watch along as well on tomorrow.
There might be, yes. And then on Monday we've got Phil's show previewing most likely the Man United game. So I appreciate you all coming on. And we'll catch you all on the next show. See you in a bit, guys.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow us on all socials.